What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and we have a very special guest today, Dom C of the Green Beat Jets fan. Welcome back to the channel, Dom.
What's up, Tigo? So stoked to be here. So stoked to be doing 2.0 of the Dueling Mocks with you, my friend.
Absolutely, I love doing these mock drafts. This is we're getting close to the draft, and this is where all of the hard work over the last couple of months starts to pay off. I know that
That's
you've been
right.
doing draft prep for forever.
Eons.
Yeah, it seems like
Eons.
since the season was still going on, for the first time it wasn't because the Jets were bad,
That's right.
and
That's right.
I've been catching up over the last couple of weeks and months, and it's been a blast. And so
Yeah.
we're running our mock draft 2.0, which I'm very, very excited about. We're going to be doing 2 rounds in today's mock draft, which I think is great because it's going to give us an opportunity to gush on some players that maybe we don't get to talk about all of the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody's kind of sick and tired of the top 40 prospects, which is great. We're running a 2.0. Who knows? Stay tuned. Maybe we run a 3.0 or we do 3 rounds. That's a lot of draft content, but still, I love doing this stuff. We're going to swap from what we did last time. Last time you had the odds so that you had the Jets pick, and I had the evens. So this time I'm going to do the odds starting off the draft. And the idea with this draft, guys, is we're going to try to stay as true to what we believe these teams are actually going to do instead of doing
Yes.
what we believe these teams should do, and you're going to see that right from the top with this first pick. For those of you who know or have watched my quarterback rankings, you know that I'm not as high on this guy. Dom knows that I'm not as high on this guy, but you're going to have to start the draft. And if Carolina is picking at 1 and they're taking a quarterback, as of right now, I am in total belief that it's going to be Bryce Young. I don't have faith in the guy's size at 5'10", a buck 80. I do have a lot of concerns with how far back he needs to do his drop backs. Even if he's in the shotgun, he's still taking, a 5-step drop back and all that stuff. But if you can look past that, which I'm having a hard time doing, but maybe Frank Reich doesn't. Who knows? He's the quarterback whisperer. The kid's electric. He can throw the
Yeah.
ball anywhere from any position. And again, if you can look past the size thing, he has the opportunity and the play to be a great quarterback.
Yeah, he's my quarterback one, so I'm completely fine with Carolina rolling the dice, starting afresh, taking the what I think is the best player on this in this quarterback class. So Bryce Young is the pick I would have made if I was picking number one. But that leaves me at 2 with Carolina, and this is predictive. And I know there's been a lot of smoke coming about recently that they don't want a quarterback. I don't see how that really makes any sense. I do like Jalen Carter. I do like Will Anderson. I think they're, you know, in this class, they're as blue chip as the defensive players get, but they're not. I don't think either one of them are generational. So I just don't see the. I can't kind of match up the rationale on why they would run it back with Davis Mills again. So I'm going to go ahead and take CJ Stroud. I think he's the safest quarterback in this class. He's got the highest floor, might have the lower ceiling of the 4 guys, but hey, listen, this offense, I think they're going to come in and they're going to want to, be protective of the ball, not turn it over. You don't need a superstar. Maybe they think they don't need a superstar. They know that they're still very early in this rebuild, and why not just get a piece that isn't going to be, might not be the greatest at first, might take a little bit of time to develop, but he's not going to bottom out.
Yep.
So CJ Stroud's a pick for Houston.
I think it's a great pick. I think the best word you can say about the CJ Stroud pick is that it's safe.
Yeah,
That's the
very
pick.
safe.
That's the word, right? Uh, would I take a different quarterback? Yes. In the Shanahan system, imagine Levis and his athleticism and that arm and
Yeah,
all of the things that he can do would just absolutely be electric. But when you're looking at a team and a general manager whose seat might be getting warm and a coach whose clock has kind of started, in the sense of, hey, you got to turn this team around. Look at what your predecessor or your successor. Look what Robert
successor.
Saleh was able to do with the Jets and all that stuff. You're his disciple here. Like, let's see what you can do with this team. And I think you're absolutely right. If draft day came and it wasn't a quarterback, I would be surprised.
Yeah, me too.
Especially because I think Jalen Carter is as good as they come when it comes to defensive line prospects. But are you really going to skip out on the most important position on the football field for an interior defensive lineman? It's not a sexy pick. An edge rusher, if Will Anderson was better, or the guy who I have one on my board, if Tyree Wilson was better, would you maybe take those guys? Absolutely. Because these quarterbacks aren't super spectacular. But it's hard for me to say, you know what, you're going to punt on that. Take CJ. It makes a ton of sense. And leaves me with the Cardinals here at 3. And I go back and forth with the Cardinals because you gotta have the conversation, right?
Yeah, they're so bad.
So bad.
I hate to say it, I'm sorry, Cardinals fans, but like, what a dumpster fire right now, especially with the quarterback hurt, probably going to miss the majority, if not all, of the season.
Yep.
J.J. Watt just retired. You have to replace so many offensive linemen. There's just nothing skill wise. You've been dying for defensive backs for so long, just in a bad space. I mean, this team has, somebody traded up for Caleb Williams next year with the Cardinals' #1 overall pick written all over it.
Yep. I also look at this, and the thing that I think people are also forgetting is that Gannon runs a 4-3, and this whole defense needs to go out the window because they're built in the 3-4, right? Like, people keep forgetting this. Like, a lot of their players, you can transition, but they've got stand-up outside linebackers. They've got players, and it's just like, well, you've got to transition your whole defense because Gannon runs the 4-3, and I think that same conversation comes up with the Cardinals at 3 that we had with the Houston Texans at 2. Yes, a new defensive coach is coming in, but is Will Anderson or Jalen Carter so good that you pass up on the opportunity to get more draft capital? And I don't think that they do. And I think that if there's a team that I feel comfortable saying I think is coming up, I think it's the Tennessee Titans. And I own both of their odd picks. And so I think of one of the teams that might be coming up to go and get it, that might be able to convince a team to say, hey, I'm interested in this. It's the Tennessee Titans. And I think the package probably looks like, this year's one, this year's one, and this year's 2, plus next year's 1 and next year's 3, and that should get the Cardinals to be able to say, you know what, we'll drop 8 spots. We'll still get an elite defensive player, whether that's a corner, whether that's a defensive lineman, whatever it is, and we'll get some assets next year, as well as the fact that we're going to have the #1 pick. And it really just primes them in a position to turn this team around as quickly as possible. That's not including whatever pick that they're going to end up getting for Budda Baker, whatever day 3 pick that they're going to get for DeAndre Hopkins. Like, if this is done well, Arizona can turn this around really quickly.
Yeah, and then look at Arizona with 11. They'll have 11, 34, 41, 66, 72. They still have 5 picks in the top 80, which is not too bad for a team that needs, that needs valuable pieces like ad infinitum. So It makes sense. Tennessee's coming up for sure. Then
Tennessee's coming up. Tennessee's coming up. They're coming up to 3, and I think that they're going to take the guy with the highest upside that can really help add a dynamicism to their team, and Anthony Richardson. I think you have Tannehill there. You're committed to Tannehill. You're not going to get out from under Tannehill. Tannehill gives you the best opportunity to win now. I think that Tennessee Titan team is being slept on a little bit. Yeah, they've got some holes, and they've got some things that they need to work out and all of that stuff. But the way that I look at it is that AFC South outside of Jacksonville isn't that competitive. You're going to beat the Texans. You're going to beat the Colts. Don't worry about it. And then you can get in front of the Colts in this point, screwing over your division rivals, and then maybe take the quarterback that they wanted here at 4. I'm not sure. I'm not picking for the Colts here, but I think this makes a ton of sense. And then the added bonus, because I know people are going to ask in the comments, like, oh, but didn't they just use a third round on Malik Willis last year? I think Malik Willis becomes the perfect backup to what Anthony Richardson is. And you got two
both
young players.
Stylistic, they kind of mesh very well.
Yep, stylistic matches is, I guess, the best way to look at it, or the best way to say it, and that's exactly the point, is they are stylistic matches, and I think we saw what the ceiling of really what Malik Willis is, and that embarrasses me a little because I was really high on Malik Willis last year, like really high on Malik Willis last year, and it was disappointing to see that. You know what? I maybe overhyped him because I said he was ready like immediately, and I was wrong.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Richardson has the highest ceiling in this draft class. You know, it's not my favorite. 53% career completion percentage in what 16 starts in college. You know, but you're banking. Listen, Tennessee's going for it. You're banking on the upside of the kid. He's an athletic freak, so I like the pick, and that leaves the Colts at 4. And I'm going to go 4 for 4 on the quarterbacks, and I'm just going to run up and take Will Levis, and he's the player that they probably have wanted all along. So it makes sense, and Seattle's on the board at 5. Not much to say about that.
Totally agree. Like, literally, there's nothing to say. I think if only one quarterback is taken between the number 1 pick and the 4th pick, I think Will Levis is going, like, if Will Levis doesn't get taken before Indianapolis, he's an Indianapolis Colt. I think that's the guy that they've honed in on. He's the number 2 quarterback on my board. I think he's electric, and I think of any of the guys that are going to be taking a quarterback, Steichen is in the best opportunity to develop him into what he actually can be. I like Steichen. I like what he's done, and I love it. And Denver gave this pick to Seattle for Russell Wilson.
Oh,
Seattle is here at 4. And I have a really hard time here.
Seattle's at 5.
5.
That's okay.
I have a really, really hard time with this pick. Because we all know that they need defensive line. We know it, right?
It's predictive.
But they also need offensive line.
They also have pick 20.
But they also have pick 20. What are you banking on more? The defensive lines being there? I'm going to take Jalen Carter. The gap between interior defensive linemen from even 5 to 20 is massive. The gap from edge at 20 to whatever pick that they have in the second round is probably not going to be that big, and like you're going to be able to get a really, really good offensive lineman in the second as well, you know, whether that's a guard in a Via or whoever it is that might be there in the second. Like, you might be able to go get a guy who can come in and immediately start.
Yeah, they do have 2 second-round picks. Seattle has 2 second-round picks as well.
Yep.
And that leaves me on the board with Detroit at 6. And I got to be honest with you, I wasn't expecting this.
Thought Will Anderson was going?
I thought Will Anderson would be gone already, so I was getting ready to discuss 2 cornerbacks here. But I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm going to just go ahead and Detroit has another pick at 18. They also, I believe, have 2 second-round picks as well. So they're in a great position here to take BPA. And they're going to go ahead and draft Will Anderson from Alabama and match him up opposite of Aiden Hutchinson and really do something good for that defense right there. So wasn't expecting him to be here, but it makes more than enough sense to do it. So Las Vegas is up with 7.
And I think this is a really easy pick, right? I'm in love with the idea of them taking a corner here, but I don't see how they do that. They know that Jimmy is a walking injury. You have to protect him. Get the guy who can play, who has the highest ceiling to play on the interior of an offensive line. I'm taking Peter Skoronski here at 7. I unfortunately don't have him as a tackle in my eyes. I don't think a lot of teams are going to have him as a tackle in my eyes. But when you look at him and his ability to play guard, it's all pro level guard. It's Elijah Vera Tucker. It's Zach Martin. It's all of these things, right?
Yeah, well, listen, and
It's night and day.
Oakland, LA or Las Vegas is in a good spot here because you can pencil in Skoronski at right tackle, you know, and if it doesn't work, you can always bounce him to left or right guard because there are holes on that offensive line. So it does make sense here. I'm not going to argue it, and I think me picking 8 at Atlanta is elated to see Tyree Wilson fall to the board here. I mean, they've been pining for an edge rusher for it seems like for years now.
Yeah.
And I think that Tyree brings enough juice off the end, plus is a dominant edge setting run defender. Um, he's going to fit very very well in this attacking style defense. He can play he can play inside, he can move inside, play over the guard, he can play 4-eye, 5 tech, he can even get outside to a wide 9 in certain sets. He's going to be the pick, Tyree Wilson.
Yep.
That leaves the Bears up at 9.
And I think that the Bears have done a really good job of addressing a lot of their needs on the offense and defensive side of the ball. And I think a lot of people, and this is me being predictive, not just me thinking what's going to happen. I think this is a defensive line pick, and I think they're a little upset that you just took Tyree Wilson. But they're gonna. I still think they'll be elated to get this guy, and that's Lucas Van Ness, the edge out of Iowa. And calling him an edge, I think, is a little bit disrespectful in my eyes. Lucas Van Ness, the defensive lineman out of Iowa. They have a need up the middle of the D line. They have a need on the outside of the D line, and they need to get after the passer. I think the signing of Nate Davis, because a lot of people forget they brought in Nate Davis, and the fact that Tevin Jenkins, their second-round pick from 2 years ago, had a phenomenal bounce-back year in year 2. Because year 1, he was abysmal. He got hurt. He had the back problem. A lot of people were thinking, oh, Tevin Jenkins is going to bust. I don't think so. Tevin Jenkins can play on the line now. Braxton Jones, their 5th-round pick, showed up to legitimately be a left tackle. And they've got enough there on the offensive line to be able to say, screw it. We'll take an offensive lineman later. Let's address a position that's actually a massive position of need. We've invested a ton of money and assets into our defense. Let's keep doing that. Let's get better.
Yeah, makes sense. I like the pick a lot. That leaves me on the board with Philadelphia 10. Now, Philly can go a bunch of different ways here. I think, I don't know, they talk about being okay with Cam Jurgens filling in at right guard for Salamalu who left. You have some members of that defensive line. I think Lucas Van Ness will fit in perfectly on this defense, be the Brandon Graham replacement. I know they just re-upped both cornerbacks, but they're both on the getting up there in age. I mean, especially Bradbury. I mean, I don't know how old Slay is, but he's probably pushing 30 if he's not 30 already.
32.
Yeah. They signed Terrell Edmonds to fill in for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. That's a stopgap, so I don't think there's a safety on the board here that makes sense. So I'm going to go ahead and take the most feasible selection here, and I'm going to go ahead and say, listen, Cam Jurgens is a good ball player, but we have the opportunity to bring somebody in that can slot in at right guard, has experience playing right guard, and then kick outside to tackle when Lane Johnson finally hangs it up or when he gets hurt the next time, and it's Paris Johnson Jr.
Yep.
It makes too much sense.
I
think Skoronski is going to be the guy that they covet, but he wasn't on the board, so Paris Johnson Jr., congratulations. Welcome. You are a Philadelphia Eagle.
I think you said it perfectly, and I think this makes so much sense. Bring him in, you slot him in at right guard, and then you say the moment Layden Johnson retires. It's the same conversation that you had with Cam Jurgens, right? Yeah, we've got Kelsey here now, but you're his heir apparent. Yeah, we've got Lane Johnson here now. You're his heir apparent, and you're going to bump outside. The moment he retires, you're going to right tackle. Don't worry about it. Same conversation you had with Cam. The moment Kelsey retires, you're the heir apparent. You're coming in. And Howie
Roseman builds from the inside out.
Yep.
That's just how his foundation of building a team is. And listen, Lane Johnson hasn't stayed healthy in many a year now. So there's an opportunity that Paris Johnson could kick outside earlier and Cam Jurgens can slide right in for a year until Kelsey retires. So all is well in the land of the cheesesteak.
And what was their biggest selling point last year of why they were having so much success? They had arguably the best offensive line in football. That's just it.
Yep.
They had arguably the best offensive line in football, and Jalen Hurts had all of the time in the world to throw his passes and all of the protection downfield when he was running. It makes too much sense. I love this pick.
Yeah.
The Cardinals are on the board at 11, and I think that they're elated with how this draft fell and how everything went, because this is a player that they were possibly looking at taking at 3, and now they're here at 11, and they're going to take him, and it's Devin Witherspoon, the cornerback out of Illinois. While I have him as my 1B in this draft, I think Devin Witherspoon is electric. And the only reason he's 1B is because of his size. I do have concern with his size, especially with wide receivers seemingly getting more physical. You know, like the higher end, top end wide receivers, your Deebo Samuels, your AJ Browns, your DK Metcalfs, which are the wide receivers that he's going to be facing, are getting more and more and more and more physical and just crazy. But Devin Witherspoon is such a good athlete. You find a place to play him, and you just play him.
No, I can't argue with that. He's my cornerback 1. And I don't think the physicality or his size is going to hamper his physicality. I mean, because the guy's a dog. He's probably the best tackling defensive back in this field, in this whole class. You know, he's very, adept at both press and off zone coverage. It just makes a ton of sense. You know, you could have made an argument for Christian Gonzalez too, and I wouldn't have. I probably wouldn't have whimpered. I happen to like Devin Witherspoon a little bit more than Christian Gonzalez, but to each their own. So that leaves me here with Houston, and we've already taken the quarterback at 2, CJ Stroud.
Yep.
Now there's something in me that wants to pair up his college teammate and secure that big slot in Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I might, but God, Christian Gonzalez on the board. Can you imagine Derek Stingley lined up opposite Christian Gonzalez? Miles Murphy,
coach.
Yeah, Miles Murphy here makes sense. I mean, he'd be a perfect fit for D'Amico Ryans on. He needs that edge presence. Man, decisions. I'm between those 3, and I'm really stumped, to be honest with you. Let me look at their depth chart here.
What
do they have
good.
What do they have on the edge? That's what
Nothing.
I'm really, really concerned about here.
Nothing.
Because listen, they need a 3 tech. Sheldon Rankins is there, but
for 1 year.
They got Jerry Hughes and they got Jonathan Grenard and Jerry Hughes, backed up by Damone Harris and Chase Winovich. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Miles Murphy. I'm just going to, listen, Jerry Hughes got to be 35 years old, right? He's got 1 more year. Chase Winovich got to be 33 years old. He can't be here for more than 1 year.
Jerry Hughes is 34.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in Miles Murphy. I know we've seen him slip a little bit, but the talent is still there. The get-off is still there. He might not have the super high ceiling, but he's going to be a productive pro at a position of need. It's really hard for me to pass on the idea of pairing up Derek Stingley and Christian Gonzalez, but I'm going to do it.
It's super interesting. I would have loved that idea of going like outside in, but I think philosophically it doesn't match up with what Caserio has learned from New England and what D'Amico has learned from Saleh in San Francisco. Look how many first-round picks that they've used on the defensive line. This builds into that thought process as well, and I think that this is probably the pick. If the draft played out this way, this is probably the way that pick went. The Jets are on the board at 13, and I think everybody knows what's the pick here for me. It's going to be my number 1 tackle on the board in Broderick Jones. Makes a ton of sense. Paris Johnson's gone. Peter Skoronski's gone. I have Skoronski as a guard. I have Paris as my number 2 tackle in this class. My actually, I'm not going to spoil it because my tackle video is going to come out later. My tackle rankings are going to come out later. But again, Broderick Jones for me is the guy that again, I would take any of the 5 offensive linemen at 13. Like, truthfully and honestly, any one of them. Yeah. I think they're all that good. But if I had my pick of the 5, I would take Broderick Jones at 13. And so New England's here at 14, and you get to help our division rivals.
Yeah, I do. You know what I'm gonna do?
What's that?
I'm gonna make a little swap here, a little swappity swap.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm gonna have Washington bump up here to 14. And by moving up, they're gonna swap 14 for 16, and I'm gonna have them throw in pick number 97, their 3rd round pick, just to move up 2 picks. I'm not gonna let Christian Gonzalez fall any longer. Washington has a need on the outside. Can you imagine Christian Gonzalez opposite of Benjamin St-Juste in Washington? I think where I can target New England by dropping down 2 picks really doesn't affect them too much. So I'm going to go ahead and have Washington bump up to take Christian Gonzalez and secure their new cornerback 1. Great talent. Love the fit. New regime here a new ownership in Washington. And I think they're going to want to bring in, big marquee names. So Christian Gonzalez, welcome to the nation's capital.
I love this move, right? It's not a move based off of, we think Green Bay is going to take it. No. It's you convincing the New England Patriots that 3rd round pick and moving back 2 spots is worth more than sticking and picking with Christian Gonzalez, because I think that's probably the player that they would have ended up taking with how the defensive line has gone and how the offensive tackles have gone and all that stuff. And I think that was very, very interesting, because when you originally announced the pick, I was like, are they coming up for a wide receiver or like Dalton Kincaid? Are they trying to get in front of Green Bay? Are they trying to do something like that? And I thought that's what you were doing, and you're not. You're coming up to say, you know what? We're just going to stop New England from taking the cornerback that we want. And that makes a ton of sense.
I can't force this trade on my draft simulator here, so bear with me while you get ready for Green Bay.
I would just say just make the pick as New England, because you're going to pick at 16 anyway, and just know that you're picking for Washington, or that you're picking for New England and Washington respectively, because you're not trading a 2nd round pick, so you don't need those swaps to happen. But Green Bay is on the board, and a part of me really, really struggles with this Green Bay pick for a couple of reasons, right? Historically, Gutekunst likes drafting defensive players in the 1st round.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, that's what he does. And they have a need on the defense, right? They need help on the defensive line. They could use a safety. And Brian Branch at 15 kind of starts beginning the spot where I feel comfortable with him going. But I think that historically, he's taken defenses in the 1st round because you had Aaron Rodgers. And when you have an all-time great under center, you can afford to skimp out on your offensive skill positions, because your hope is that Aaron Rodgers is to insert 2nd, 3rd round wide receiver that you take here to what Aaron Rodgers was to Devontae Adams in his career. Another 2nd round wide receiver. And you hope that he can turn those guys into elite prospects and elite players. That being said, you're evaluating your young quarterback here. Is it not the time to just get him as many weapons as possible? And so that's where I look at it and I go, I think one of the things that Green Bay wants is a wide receiver. I think that there's a real possibility they get one in the trade with the Jets, but worst case or best case scenario, that's just a stopgap. You really only have one wide receiver there in Christian Watson. People may like Dubes and whatever, but he didn't really show enough for me to feel super comfortable. I'm going to take Jackson Smith-Njigba here, the wide receiver out of Ohio State.
Spicy.
Knowing that we're probably going to have a 2nd round pick, and this tight end class is really deep. And
Yes.
the gap between Michael Mayer and Kincaid, who are my clear-cut 1A, 1Bs, to a guy that you might get in the second round, like a Sam Laporta, a Darnell Washington, a Musgrave, isn't that big.
Yeah. So the only question I have with this is, Green Bay historically has that, that size measurement for their wide receivers. Does Jackson, Smith, and Jigba fit in their mold?
I think
S-
I had that concern as well,
Yeah.
and I look at it and I go, like, it was between Kincaid and a wide receiver here. The
Yeah.
only wide receiver I have a first round grade on is Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's the only one.
Yeah.
And for me, while yes, I have a size concern and all of those things, if you're Green Bay, I think you can ignore those things and just go get a good football player. Like, 'cause that's
Yeah.
what he is. He's a
And
good football player.
Yeah, and he's a quarterback's. He's going to be a quarterback's best friend. He's gonna help Jordan Love if Jordan Love is the quarterback. He can force separation even though he's not the fastest or the quickest. He creates separation. He's going to find the soft zones and sit down. I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba's just really good.
I've been saying this about Jackson Smith and Jigba for a while now, and that's that he's like having a second quarterback out there because he knows how to diagnose a defense. He just knows
Yeah.
where the hole is. He's not going to run
Uh,
the route that you call. He's going to run the right route. And that's the way
Yeah.
that I look at it. You might call a 5-yard in route. Well, you know what? In his run up in his 5 yards, he realizes that the 5 yards isn't what he should be running. It's a 7-yard because that's where the hole in the gap, in the zone, that's where the gap in the zone is going to be. And that's where he's going to be. And just trust the guy because he's going to be open. Give
Yeah.
him half a beat to take those extra 2 steps because he will be open and you'll be able to get the ball to him.
I love it. I love it. And that puts New England on the board. And like I said, the guys that I was really targeting at 14 is still here on 16. It's not going to take much hesitation for me to make this pick for them. I really love the player. I really love the fit. I think this is right up the wheelhouse of Bill Belichick. And the Crafts over there in New England, and they're just going to put another big body up on that line. And they're going to go ahead and lock in their right tackle for the next 12 years and take Darnell Wright. He's the pick I would have taken for them at 14. It just makes too much sense.
Yep.
You're not starting Connor McDermott at right tackle. You're just not doing it,
Did
right?
they sign Riley Reef?
They signed Riley Reef, but swing tackle money. So
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that to dissuade the pick. This makes a ton of sense, and the Pittsburgh Steelers are absolutely furious because that's who they wanted.
yeah,
Pittsburgh Steelers wanted, beyond a shadow of a doubt, they wanted Darnell Wright, but in no way is Anton Harrison just a consolation prize.
wow.
I love me some Anton Harrison. They need a tackle in the worst way. They just went out and got Allen Robinson. They're committing to Pickett. They're committing to Pickett in a big way. You got to protect your asset. You've now got a wide receiver room that consists of Deontay Johnson, Allen Robinson, and George Pickens. That's a legitimate force in the wide receiver room. They've got 2 really good tight ends in the guys that I can't remember their names right now. Pat Freiermuth, who was the guy that we were all in love with a couple of years ago. We all wanted Pat Freiermuth. But then the guy who's their backup, I also really, really like. You got to go get the protection. And then their running back room is really good with the Alabama kid and then the other kid that they got in like the 5th round that was arguably better than the Alabama kid. I don't know why I'm blanking on all of their names, but you get the point. I think this makes a ton of sense for them. I know they need help on the defense, but screw it. Najee Harris, there it is.
Anton
Jesus.
Harris. So Anton Harrison to Pittsburgh at 17, right?
Yep.
And wow, 17 picks and all the first 5 tackles are off the board.
Yep.
And that leaves me at 18 here. With Detroit, who took Jalen Carter to start. Okay. I can work with this. I can work with this, my friend. I know exactly what I'm going to do. And this is predictive. This is not what I would do. Um, Detroit's offense is electric, right? They
Yep.
just traded they just traded Hawkinson last year, so
I love
maybe
this
tight
pick.
end Brock Wright. Maybe Brock Wright isn't really what they want, So Kincaid, Michael Mayer makes sense here for me, but I'm going to shy a different way.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go to the
I'm
tight
going to
end.
give no. I'm going to give the off. Well, you know what? I can't. It's hard for me to justify them trading Hawkinson for a second round pick to take a tight end in the first round. I'm going to give them an offensive weapon, something that they don't have right now. Something that's a little different than the skill positions they have here. And I'm not going to lie, thought for a hot minute. I really thought about Bijan,
Oh, I thought
but
that was where you were gonna go. Oh my God, are you
I,
going
I think
Johnston here?
I'm gonna go Quentin Johnston.
Oh, I love it.
And he's just the he's a receiver that they don't have. They have the
Nope.
speed guy in Jamison Williams.
Yep.
They have the big slot in Amon Ross St. Brown. Now you go get the
Your
big
X.
guy, the possession. Yeah, your possession X can go up and get the 50-50 balls. Just opens up the field. And mind you, uh, he's a very nice consolation prize. I mean, he's fast too. He can still get on those goes. Now he needs a little bit more refinement. He doesn't run a full route tree and so on and so forth, but he's not going to have to right now in Detroit. I think of all the teams in the first round, I think Detroit and Kansas City make the most sense for Quentin Johnson. So I'm going to go ahead and take him off the board. And that leaves you with Tampa Bay and with no tackles, and Tampa Bay's pissed.
Pissed. They're furious. But you know
Yeah.
what they're gonna do is they're gonna pivot, and they're gonna pivot in a way that makes sense for their team and still helps them protect Baker Mayfield. And who knows, maybe this might be their tight end one. A lot of people are in love with this guy. And while I may not be the biggest fan of his, while he is tight end 5 on my board and I'm higher on a lot of the other guys, I think you pivot. You have a need at tight end. All of the quarterbacks are gone. This is way too early for Hendon Hooker. Darnell Washington, the pseudo right tackle, is going to Tampa Bay. And I think this is a good pick in multiple ways. One, you're still going to be able to help protect your guy with all the tackles being gone. But two, you're going to have a safety blanket there and being able to dump it off because Cade Otton ain't it. But this isn't a win now pick. This is a win in 3 years pick. And that's exactly what Baker Mayfield is too, right? You sign Baker Mayfield because it gives off the illusion that you're trying to win games while actively trying to lose games. That's why you keep your head coach. I forget his name. Oh my gosh, who was the Jets head coach? Why am I blanking out on names? I can see him in my face.
I'm sorry. Oh, the Tampa Bay head coach?
Yeah. Boyle. No. I don't remember. Doesn't matter. Bowles. Todd Bowles. Jesus Christ. There it is.
Good Lord.
Oh, I couldn't get it.
Darnell Washington.
Yes.
I like it. Listen, it makes sense. I like it. It's too rich for my blood.
I agree.
But it makes sense, and that leaves me on the board here with Seattle. Seattle took Jalen Carter to start.
Yep.
What to do? The board is still plentiful here.
Yep.
Wow, yeah. Offensive line could be in play.
That's what I'm looking at.
Edge could be in play. They got 2 picks in the second as well. You know what I'm going to do, I think? This is kind of boring, but this is... I think they're going to do, right? Predictive pick. I just don't see them going into the season with D. Eskridge at the slot. I'm going to go ahead and put a receiver on the board for them, someone who can work in the slot and ultimately take over for Tyler Lockett when he ages out and his contract's over. This guy makes a lot of sense. He can play inside and outside. Very productive in college. I'm going to go ahead and take from Boston College, Zay Flowers.
Makes a ton of sense. I think the moment I think you're right. Lockett's not getting any younger, and here's your Lockett replacement right here. And they were
Yeah.
winning games off of that electric offense, you know. And with 2 picks
Yeah.
in the second round, you can address the offensive line in the second round. You're not going to get a wide receiver
right.
as good as Zay Flowers in the second round.
Arguably, not mine, but arguably wide receiver 1.
He's
right
wide
there
receiver 2 on
at
my
20.
board.
Yeah.
You know, Chargers are here, and I think this is an easy pick for the Chargers. With Zay Flowers gone, you made the pick very easy for them. They're not going to re-sign Eckler. They need to bring somebody in. This can be considered a win now move. Bijan is going to Los Angeles to play to be back there. Eckler's not going to get traded because no one's going to trade for him and pay him. So he's going to play, and you partner Eckler up with Bijan, and now you've got a serious offensive threat that you didn't have before. Because now, if Eckler goes off of the field, before you kind of didn't have anything, now you do. Now you can do 2 running back sets. Which one of them is going to get the ball? It opens up a whole new line for Herbert, and yep, that's that. The heir apparent in Los Angeles.
Wow, I love it. And this is I think this is a very, very reasonable spot for Bijan to fall. I don't think it's going to go much lower than this. I really don't. That leaves me on the board with Baltimore. So, obviously they signed Odell.
Yep.
They also signed Nelson Aguilar.
Yep.
So I think we can cross wide receiver off the board here between Odell, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar, Devin Duvernay. They still have James Prochet over there in the slot too, I believe. So, their wide receiver room is in a lot better shape. Their offensive line needs some help. I just don't know if there's guys here that make sense to fill the offensive line. So, yeah, I'm going to keep the hometown kid in Maryland, and I'm going to go ahead and take Deonte Banks, the cornerback, have him start right now opposite Marlon Humphrey, 6'2", great in man coverage, what Baltimore runs a lot of. Fluid, good mover, fluid hips, opens up, can run. Tons of sense. Deonte Banks, you are staying home.
Yeah, I was hoping this was the way that you went with this pick. I think it made a ton of sense for Baltimore. You should address the defensive side of the ball. Love this pick for them. The Vikings are on the board. They just lost Adam Thielen. You can't expect Justin Jefferson to do it all by himself. I know that they've got Osborne and Naylor, but I'm not as high on those guys as maybe some other people are, and I don't think Minnesota's as high on those guys either. With Aaron Rodgers leaving the division, you got to do everything you can to win the weak NFC, to go and compete for a Super Bowl. And the pick that you do to do that is the guy who has the ceiling to be the best wide receiver 2 in the NFL, and that's Jordan Addison. He is silky smooth in his route running. He's got elite speed, elite quickness, all of those things. While I'm not as high on Jordan Addison as a lot of people are, I really look at him as a high-end number 2 wide receiver in the next level, and this is the type of pick that you make here to win now.
Yeah,
you need cheap wide receivers, especially since you're going to pay Justin Jefferson $30 million a year.
Yeah, I love it. I love the pick, and man, Jacksonville would have loved to see one of those tackles fall.
Yep.
You got Cam Robinson signed. You have Walker Little right now penciled in as your right tackle, and he's serviceable, but he played good at guard last year. So you're asking a lot right now. Well, you got Brendan Scherf to a big contract. You got Ben Barch there. I'm going to look on the defensive side of the ball. And I think it's really between 2 guys. And
take the other one. Take the second guy.
Yeah, I'm going to. Let me just double check something. Yeah. I'm gonna take Joey Porter Jr.
Oh, that is not who I thought.
I'm gonna stop the slide Um, they are in need of another cornerback opposite Tyson Campbell. Yeah, Trey Herndon's in the slot. I really thought about Brian Branch
I
right
thought that
here.
was the pick.
He can come in and play slot, but you have Darius Williams over there at worst. If Joey Porter can't beat out Darius Williams to play on the right side, you put him in the slot for a year or two. Um, you know, I just think that Joey Porter's too good to be on the board at this point. So Joey Porter's a pick.
I love it. That one blew me away. Blew me away. The Giants did the smart thing and they didn't get baited into trading up to go and get their guy. And
Yeah.
because they knew that if they were going to address any of the positions of need that they had, that they were going to need to go up and get their guy. That's just the reality of it, unfortunately. But now they're here and they don't have a player that they're in love with. So they're just going to go to their board. They're going to take the best player available. And I think that this is...
Hey, ding, ding, ding.
Oh!
Ding, ding, ding. Can I entice you to move down a little bit?
Depends on what's a little bit.
Cincinnati wants to come up.
Ooh.
From 28 to 25. And let's see what I can offer you. Let me pull up Cincinnati's board here.
Cincy. The Cincinnati Bengals.
So we're talking 80 points here.
92?
I will throw you 92 if you throw me back 128. Swap. We'll do a pick swap third and fourth to move down 3 spots.
Why the hell not? I think the guy that I want is still going to be there at 28. Yeah, why the hell not? 25. Now, to make it fair, let me just take the Giants pick at 28 because you're coming up for 25. We did this opposite the last time. Who do you want at 25? Who is?
No. I'm gonna take the. We're gonna run this like it should. Let's make this work here. 28 and 92, and I'm gonna take 25 and 128. And I'm going to propose, and we're going to make it happen. That was declined. Let me make it work another way. Bengals. G-Men. 28 and 92, and I'm going to just throw in something from next year to make this work. Okay. So the Bengals are on the clock.
Who did they come
You can
up
still
with?
pick. They can. This is a no-brainer right here.
Did they come up for Kincaid?
They came up for Kincaid.
Okay.
Absolutely. Listen.
Oh, because the Cowboys might have taken him.
Kincaid. Well, listen. Between the two, I think the Bengals would have been content with either Kincaid or Michael Mayer. I don't know how they have them ranked. When you think of that offense,
With a tight end.
With a tight end with receiving chops such as Dalton Kincaid, you don't know if you're going to have. Oh my God, what is his name? Why I'm drawing a blank too. Who's the slot receiver over there?
Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd. Good Lord, I'm having a brain fart tonight. He's in his last year of his contract, right?
Yep.
Dalton Kincaid can ultimately become that big slot. He can run patterns as well as Tyler Boyd or just about any wide receiver. With Dallas and Buffalo, who is a very sneaky. I know they signed their tight end to an extension, but that's another team that might be in the tight end market. I'm not going to risk it, and I'm going to go get my tight end 1 for Baltimore. I think he fits the offensive scheme and play style so well. Dalton Kincaid, welcome aboard. You are a Cincinnati Bengal.
Super interesting. I don't disagree with any of the logic, like at all. Yeah. What do you think the Cowboys are going to do at 26?
What do I think the Cowboys are going to do?
It's your pick?
It is my pick.
Yeah.
Oh, this is to me this is a no-brainer. To me, it's a no-brainer.
Is it Kancey?
It's not Kancey.
It's not Kancey. Is it? Oh, it's Nolan Smith. Go get another
It's
Micah
Nolan
Parsons.
Smith.
I
It's
forgot
Nolan
about
Smith.
Nolan Smith. You get two
Listen,
Micah Parsons out there. Oh my god.
What's better than one Micah Parsons?
Two.
Is having
This
two
is
guys who
such
can
a-
come at you.
Jesus, the Cowboys might come up.
And
for
that's such
Nolan
a
Smith.
that's such a Cowboys pick too.
Oh yes,
I mean,
it is.
but it makes sense. Like I like everything about it.
Oh yeah.
He can fit the defense. He can plug and play in a lot of different areas, and it gives, it gives some run support because he is a phenomenal run defender. On the same side, you can line him and Micah up on the same side, and you don't know which one's coming at you and which one's gonna, drop back.
That's what I was about to say.
Nolan Smith is a dangerous weapon. I know he's listed as an edge, but he should be listed as like
football player, freak.
Football player, exactly.
Just freak.
Yeah.
It's I just think of, imagine those 5-man fronts that they're gonna throw. Just these amoeba fronts, like, because you can even have like Van Der Esch is huge, right? You just drop 6 guys right onto the line, and you don't know which 4 or 3 or 5 or 6 are coming. Like, you can literally just go put all of their hands in the dirt, all of them, all 5 of them. Just put all of your hands in the dirt. Parsons, Smith, Lawrence, everybody else, just all of them. Put your hands in the dirt, get there, and then one of you's dropping back into coverage. Whoever's the farther away from the tight end, like, it just, I love it. I think that's a great pick.
Yeah. Well, you're up for 3 in a row here. And the Canadians are on the clock.
The Canadian Buffalo Bills. This is one of those picks that I really I don't know what the answer is for Buffalo. Because do you take a wide receiver here? No. All of the first round, like, definitive guys who might have a first round grade are gone. This is way too early to take Tank Dell or Josh Downs, in my opinion.
Do you take Jalen Hyatt? Jalen Hyatt to me doesn't seem like a Buffalo receiver.
I was going to say that. Doesn't seem like a guy that fits that Buffalo scheme at all. Who they wanted was what's his name? Jordan Addison. He's not here. Now, what do they need? Probably an offensive lineman. Are you taking DeJuan Jones at this point? Brown hasn't been good, and DeJuan Jones can play.
No.
Do you go interior offensive lineman here? Is this where Avia goes, or is this where Torrance goes?
It absolutely.
Like, it makes sense, but is that what Buffalo is going to do? They just took Kaiir Elam last year, but they still need help at corner. Oh.
Do you take an edge rusher and get your Von Miller replacement in place?
Is this the Will McDonald pick? Like, that could be the move.
There's a bunch of different ways you can go.
That could be the move.
There's a bunch of different ways you can move. Yeah.
Like, do you go and get, like, another one is, like, do you get Brian Branch to play slot for a year or two while you wait for Joyner and Hyde to retire? Like, because that's another move that makes sense.
Or maybe he just stays at slot
Forever. That's another option, yeah.
Yeah, listen, there's plenty of good options right here. I like what you're thinking in Branch. I also, not to try to sway your pick, but I also like what you're talking about with DeJuan Jones. I think that makes a lot of sense too.
I do too. That's where I'm leaning. You can't run it back with Brown, can you? Like, Spencer Brown is bad.
At what point does Buffalo say, okay, the Spencer Brown project it's not going to work out? Yeah.
I think it has to be now. I'm going to do it. DeJuan Jones. I really wanted to save him for Kansas City. I really did. I really did want to save him for Kansas City because I think that's, like, the pick that they ultimately want to make. But you just got to stop the slide at some point, like, in the sense of, like, and by slide, I mean, like, the project. You just got to stop it. Like, it's not working. Your guy's running for his life. The thing that solidified me was I remembering that he's got to stop being a football player and start being a quarterback, in reference to the fact that he's got to stop running and putting his body on the line. And you back that up by taking a tackle in the first round and DeJuan Jones. And I love DeJuan Jones, and I think he could absolutely be taken in the first round. So that's why I'm making that pick. The New York Giants are on the clock at 28, and I'm just going to go real easy here. They're taking Brian Branch. They need the defensive back help. There's no wide receiver here. There's no center here, and there's no linebacker here that I feel super comfortable with. Brian Branch is a top 15 player. To get him here at 28, I think is great. He can slide in at strong safety. He can slide in at the slot. If you even want to play him at free safety, you can. Like,
hell, you can play him outside if you want. That's
can,
like
probably
he is a jack of all trades.
Probably. And so I think that you just get good defensive player, get good DB, play him where you can play your DB, and start really improving that defense overall. And now the Saints are on the board. And I know that this is a pick that's going to surprise a lot of people. He's going to be the first interior person taken off the board. He is my number two, actually, interior offensive lineman in this class. And I'm going to take Steve Avila, the guard out of TCU. He can play center. He can play guard. They have a need at guard, and they have a need at center. Steve Avila, you're a New Orleans Saint. You got to protect your new quarterback, right?
Yeah, I love it, dude. I love it, and it completely makes sense. And Steve Avila is a New Orleans Saint type of offensive lineman, right? Cesar Ruiz, they drafted a few years back. I mean, very same style of play, same build.
I said something dumb. I said he was my number 2. He's my number 3 because I have Peter as my number 1 guard. I just remembered that.
It's all good. I won't hold you to it, pal. But I love the Steve Avila pick there. And that leaves me on the clock with Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles. We took Paris Johnson at pick 10. I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
I'm going to make a pick. Now, I promise you, Tigo, this is not a what would Dom C do. I'm going to take a pick that I think is predictive. It's a pick that Howie would make. It's a ideal guy.
Take Jack Campbell. Do it.
To flip and back up Brandon Graham and learn, and he has positional flexibility all over the place. And I really, really do think
I already know
that he's a first-round talent. And I'm going to take Tommy Adebaware.
Yeah, I knew it.
The defensive lineman from Northwestern. He's so good. He's so athletic. He's so fast. He fits exactly what Philadelphia wants. He can bump inside and rush from the inside in certain sets. He can play outside and set the edge. Even if they run, on their nickel and dime situations where they have odd man fronts, he can line up as a 5-tech. I just like his fit better than the BJ Ojularis, than the Will McDonald's on Philadelphia's team.
Yep.
And I think that it's a steal for them here.
The moment you said, I knew where you were going. It makes a ton of sense. I like the pick a lot. The Kansas City Chiefs are on the board, and I am adamant to make him a first rounder. I think he deserves to be a first rounder. We're gonna replace and get Jones a running mate, and I'm gonna take Kalijah Kancey here.
Ooh,
they need to help
spicy.
They need to help the defensive line. I don't know if I am Kansas City, I don't know if my love for Will McDonald surpasses the grade that I have for Kalijah Kancey.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's where I made that decision.
I wouldn't have thought Kancey here, but I get why you did it. And like I said, I think Kalijah Kancey is a top 12 talent in this entire class.
Yep.
I get why you did it. But man, I could see they have so many for a Super Bowl champion team. They got to replace a bunch of people on the offense, on that wide receiver, on that offensive line, so on and so forth.
Yep.
But you can't let Kancey slip any further. I get it, man. No. I get it. And that leaves me here with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we all go to sleep and wake up. This is day 2 of the draft.
And Pittsburgh, refresh my memory, took Antoine Harrison.
Yes.
Overall.
They took the tackle.
Okay, so I'm going to start out with the defensive side of the ball. I just want to see something. Where is the Pittsburgh Steelers? Let me see here.
Pittsburgh's an
So you
interesting
took the
spot.
tackle here that slides in. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Pittsburgh's an interesting spot, just because
Are you there?
like this is where you can start seeing some of those players that like for sure aren't first round picks, but like you can maybe reach for them in the second round. Like remembering that they have another second round
Yeah.
pick at 49, you know? So it's just like we have
Yeah.
2 picks. What do we think is not going to be there at 49?
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take a position which I think they're going to target here. Okay. I'm going to take a guy that I really, really like. I might be a little bit higher on than most, but I think he just fits Pittsburgh very well. Height, weight, speed. He's an athletic freak. You know, is a killer in man. Has played some zone in college as well. And you know, maybe this is the higher end of his range. But for me, looking at the defensive backs that are on the board here, there's nobody else I like better personally. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take cornerback from University of Miami, Tyreek Stevenson. And he's going to be he's going to be the first first player off the board in round 2. I thought about Julian Brents for a little bit. DJ Turner is super fast. But I just think overall, I think Tyreek Stevenson's probably the best one left on this board. Cam Smith is good too, but
They're small.
Yeah, Tyreek Stevenson, he's a dog, man. He's a dog.
No, I love that. I love the pick. If I had the pick, this was the pick that I was going to make. It was so good that I was hovering the Tyreek Stevenson before you started your monologue. Like I was just like, you have to go corner here. And the only corner that I would take here is Tyreek Stevenson. It makes a ton of sense. And the Texans are on the board at 33. And they're gonna go center, and they're gonna take John Michael Schmitz. He's a new scheme fit for what they have. It makes a ton of sense. He's my number 1 graded center in this class. I think the Texans they desperately need a center. They can't run Quessenberry back. He was the worst center in all of football last year. And they've invested at this point in time, they would have invested a ton of assets to that offensive line. And now, like arguably and sneakily, they have one of the better offensive lines in football, assuming Kenyon Green is an absolute crap like he was last year. You paid Laramie Tunsil like a top 10 tackle because he absolutely deserves to be paid that way. You've got Howard, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but I don't hate on him. You traded for Shaq Mason. You drafted Kenyon Green last year. Now you're drafting John Michael Schmitz. Protect your quarterback. John Michael Schmitz at 33.
Yeah, this is where he's going to go. This is the range. He can go anywhere from 20, like I said, like 26 to 35 is probably going to be his floor. And that leaves me on the board with Arizona.
Yep.
Oh, Arizona can go. Like I said, they took who'd they take? They took Devin Witherspoon to start.
Yep.
They can go a bunch of different ways here as well.
Yeah. Really can.
But they got some more. They got some more capital, right? We get some.
Yes, they have the 41st pick.
Got enough. We got the 41st pick. Okay, that changes things. I'm going to stay on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
I'm going to stay along the defensive line, but I'm not going to take an edge. I'm going to go ahead and secure a 3-tech Brian Brise from Clemson.
Yep.
4-man front, more than likely is going to be their base with Jonathan Gannon here. You know, he can fill the he can fill the role that Hargrave played in Philly. Do it probably a little better. He gets out of the passer. You know, he's athletically as gifted as they come. Hopefully he's beyond all the injuries that he had. With a pick at 41, I'm a lot comfortable securing a guy like Brise now and letting the cards fall as they may up at 41. So yep. Brian Brise is going to be the pick.
I love it. And the Colts are here at 35. And Dom, what is a young quarterback's best friend?
A tight end.
A tight end. Michael Mayer to the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, man.
Michael Mayer. This is a dream scenario if I'm Indianapolis. This is a home run of a draft in the first 2 rounds. You walk away with quarterback 2 on my board, tight end 1 on my board in the first and in the second round. This is as the 3rd tight end taken. Don't forget, because Darnell Washington and Dalton Kincaid both went, and you were able to walk away with such a good player. And then you just hope that Pierce, Pittman, McKenzie all step up their games, and that the offensive line stays healthy, and then you just help out you still got Jonathan Taylor back there. Help out your young quarterback, get the best tight end in this draft in Michael Mayer, and then you just don't even blink.
And you can run those 2 tight end sets with
Mo
like
Alley-Cox.
who is it? Is it no, not Mo Alley-Cox. Who they draft last year? Was it Isaiah Likely?
Isaiah Likely went to Baltimore.
They took a tight end in last year's draft. I think 3rd or 4th round. Let's see.
Jonathan Taylor.
Let's
Jalen
see
Weidermeyer.
here. No. Jelani Woods.
Oh, yeah. But they do have Weidermeyer, too. And they signed Pharaoh Brown.
Yeah, listen, Michael Mayer makes sense here. Those other guys are just guys.
Yep.
You
can cut
Mo
all
Alley
those.
Cox. You probably could.
Cut all of them.
That leaves me on the board with the Rams, and there's no. So the Rams are on the board, and there's so many holes that they have, and they actually have a lot of draft capital for the rest of this draft. I think they have like 12 or 13 picks starting from this point. So you could throw a dart and land on a position, and it would make sense for the Rams. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the best player on my board who's left, and that's the guard from Florida, O'Cyrus Torrence. He just plugs and plays and, set it and forget it for the next few years, and let's put some more bodies on the field for the Rams. I have no idea what they're doing there, but O'Cyrus Torrence, you're a Ram. Good luck.
Yeah, make it happen.
Yeah.
Now the Seahawks are on the board at 37, which is interesting, right? Because they took Zay Flowers and Jalen Carter in the first round. They definitely need, in my opinion, to probably continue addressing the defensive side of the ball. And I want to get them an edge. Like, I really do. But the edges that are at the top of the board in the sense of, like, Will McDonald and Felix Anudike Uzama and, Tuli Tuipulotu don't necessarily really fit that true edge kind of mold of what I think Seattle is looking for. So now I'm starting to pivot, and I'm starting to think of, do they take another defensive lineman and like Mozzie Smith and partner him there? But I really think that, you know what? They brought Bobby Wagner back, but Bobby Wagner is a million years old. I think you have to find your Bobby Wagner replacement, and I think that you would be hard-pressed to find a better guy to look at to even start next to him in year one than Deion Henley, the linebacker out of Washington State.
Okay. Wow. That's a pick I wasn't expecting. I'm not going to say I hate it, but it makes sense. It makes sense. I wasn't expecting that, so I got to find Henley here on my board.
Again, I really, really, really wanted to take an edge here. Like, that was the pick I wanted to make. But really tell me if any of these wide 9 guys fit in your head, that mold of what Seattle's doing. And I just couldn't. It could not compute in my mind taking a Will McDonald or a Uzoma or any of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can make an argument maybe for Keon White or Tuipulotu, but I like the Henley pick. It makes sense. He's your replacement for Bobby Wagner when he leaves next year. He's a very, very stout zone coverage linebacker. So, it makes sense. Might not see the field a whole heck of a lot year one, but at this point, like I said, you don't need him to. That's why you have Bobby Wagner for 1 year. And that leaves me on the board with the Raiders. And my pick's going to be short and sweet. They took Peter Skoronski in the first round. I'm going to go ahead and address the defensive side of the ball, take address an area of large need, and with what I think is probably the best corner still left on the board, I'm going to go ahead out of South Carolina, take Cam Smith. Fits a need, fits a good player, maybe first, second round talent. I like Cam a lot. 6 foot, 185 pounds. And, he's adept in both zone and man. So I don't know exactly what their preference is over there. But, he's not scheme specific. Cam Smith can come in and be a ball player. A great athlete. Almost a perfect 9.9 RAS. So I like him. I like him. I like the fit. Carolina's up at 39.
Absolutely. And Carolina is a team that really racks my brain. I don't know, outside of them taking a quarterback in the first round, I don't necessarily know what they're going to do here. I don't know if they're really going to go wide receiver. They still have Marshall. They signed Thielen. They signed Chark. That seems to make a ton of sense there.
Mm-hmm.
They've put a lot of investment into the offensive line. Makes no sense going that way. Do they need an edge?
They could use an
Probably.
edge. Yeah.
Probably. But again, of the edges that are there, the only kind of guy that I really feel comfortable with, like, again, I don't look at Thule as an edge. I look at Thule as a 3-tech,
Yeah.
as an inside
Well,
guy.
they're also switching defense. Their coordinator now came over from Denver, has an odd man front history. He's a 3-4 guy.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know
So-
that.
That changes
Everything. They're taking Will McDonald here then.
Will McDonald.
Then the slide stops. I was trying to find a 3-4 team to put Will McDonald on.
Yeah.
And there it is. I didn't know that they were
I was
switching.
thinking. I was thinking. Well, I mean, listen. I mean, I'm just telling you what he did in Denver, and he's a 3-4 base. He's a Dom Capers disciple. Dom Capers is back with Carolina as a consultant as well. So I could see somebody coming from the outside. I got to be honest with you. I'm not trying to dog your pick. I love Will McDonald. You know that. I don't know if he's the best fit here because you're pretty much dovetailing him into a pass rush specialist situation. He doesn't do too much on his feet. In outside of rushing the quarterback, like I like the player. I think if Edge was the target, I think I would have landed a little bit more for this situation, either Foskey or BJ Ojolari. Can't go wrong with McDonald.
I'm not as high on BJ or even Isaiah as I am on Will McDonald. I hear all of those things, but in the second round, if you're telling me in the second round I can get a pass rush specialist, someone who's going to be really, really good on third downs and like second and longs, that to me is great value, especially in a class where, like, again, we're getting really thin here at edge.
Yeah.
Real thin here at edge.
Yeah. And I'm up with the Saints at 40.
Yep.
And now this is going to be a fun one. I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of curveball. And I don't know what's happening with Alvin Kamara, so I'm going to go ahead and take Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama.
I love it.
If nothing more, he's a guy that can still get on the field with Alvin, kind of sub in with Alvin Kamara. There's a chance he's suspended. There's a chance he's not. And outside of that, what is there in New Orleans in the backfield? I was very close to taking Hyatt there, but I just think, Jahmyr Gibbs, this is probably the area where people are going to start talking about him, and it's a nice spot. It's a good spot,
Yep. The Cardinals are back up on the board, and this is the pick that they got from the trade with
Tennessee.
Yep. And we had them going Brian Bressie at 33. We had them going Devin Witherspoon at 11. I feel like they've got to go to the other side of the ball here. And I think that this is one of those, maybe it's not a short-term lock of a pick, but it is definitely, in my opinion, a long-term one. And with, this position group getting a little bit, we're going to start the inevitable run of centers, and his fall stops Joe Tittman to the Arizona Cardinals. We got to address the offensive side of the ball at least once in this draft.
Yeah. And the Jets aren't happy because I think the Jets were honing in on Joe Tittman right there.
Yep. That's why they made the pick, right? Because you know that he's not going to be there whenever they're going to be. And he's center 2 on my board, And so there you go.
Yeah. Wow. That kind of throws me for a little bit of a curveball. But that's okay. I'm going to adjust real quick. Um, I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball for the Jets.
Love it.
I'm going to leave you to make the ultimate decision at 43. But I'm between two guys. I'm not going to lie. I'm between one guy who I think is a really, really good fit for the Jets, and I'm between one guy who I think the Jets are going to be very, very high on. Both are positions of need, one more than the other this year. But I'm going to pivot. And I'm going to take, knowing how much, God, it's so hard to get away from center here.
Yeah, it is.
I'm going to stick with my guns.
Do it.
I'm going to take the best defensive player I think left on the board, and I'm going to get my Carl Lawson replacement in B.J. Ojulari.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. He's going to be a piece that is rotational at first, but that is a sneaky position of need over time. I'm going to leave 43 for you. You can make the call. And I will tell you, I told you I was between two defensive players. I thought about long and hard about Mozzie Smith, but I just think that you will be able to plug an interior defensive lineman later down the road. I don't know how a talent like B.J. Ojulari you're not going to be able to fill in the 4th or 5th round, but a nose tackle you might.
I look at this and I go, I understand why you make the pick.
Mm-hmm.
I can't get behind this pick. And primarily because I think of one thing that you said, and I think this is where we're going to disagree. You said that B.J. Ojulari is what you believe is going to be the Carl Lawson replacement.
Absolutely.
And I look at B.J. Ojulari as the Bryce Huff replacement. I don't know, or let me just say this. As of right now, I have not seen enough from him to believe that he can be a 3-down edge rusher.
So I'll say this. When I said he's the Carl Lawson replacement, what I meant is that he does his best work in that wide 9 set.
Yeah.
Not tight end. And he can. He's a pass rush specialist. He doesn't play the run as strong as anyone.
Nope.
I shouldn't say he's a pass rush specialist that I'm not, kind of typecasting him. That's Bryce Huff. But even if that, we still don't know if Bryce Huff's going to be here long term.
No. I'm not dogging the pick, but my thing is, I would have pivoted, and I think the pick that I would have made would have been Thule. If the Jets have met with Thule already. They seem to like him.
As they have Ojulari.
Yes, they have. And I think that when you look at the type of player that Thule is, that kind of fits a JFM-esque type of role, is a little bit too small to play inside, a little bit too big to play outside, really that kind of 3-tech kind of guy. Mm-hmm. That's the pick that I would have made. But I'm not, again, if BJ's the pick, we said this in our creator mock draft. The Jets are going to walk away with a guy on the offensive line and defensive line every single draft until the day Joe Douglas is fired, dies, or the world ends. Correct. Whichever one comes first, you're always going to address the trenches, and it makes a ton of sense.
Yeah.
In this mock draft, we're trading 2024 assets for Aaron Rodgers, and I'm not gonna walk away without a center. I'm going to go call Ben Jones. I'm signing Ben Jones to a cheap 1-year deal. I'm drafting Luke Whippler here, and I'm happy about it. Bring a Jets fan home, and it's that simple. That's it.
Yeah, and there's no complaints with that pick. Like I said, I considered him there as well. Obviously, it's a huge need, but like I said, I couldn't get away from the talent and the upside and the affecting the game on the defensive side from B.J. Ojulari.
Yep.
So we're good there. And here we are with Atlanta. Atlanta took who in the first round? Atlanta took Tyree Wilson.
Yep.
And here is the spot, which I think makes, again, a lot of sense for them. Oh, maybe not. I got to see, what did they do in free agency? They did
A
a lot in
lot of
free
defensive
agents.
players.
They did
Bates,
a lot
Okuda,
in free agency.
Campbell.
I forgot about Okuda. Yeah, I was, I was thinking Emmanuel Forbes, but
Okuda
I might,
slides in inside.
I might pivot here. I want to see something. I want to see their depth chart. Bear with me, folks. Bear with me. Yeah, they signed. They signed. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Jalen Hyatt. I'm going to add some more speed to that offense. They signed Scotty Miller to play the slot. I think Hyatt, more so than Josh Downs, has the ability to go inside and outside if needed. And who doesn't like that speed, right?
I love this
So
pick.
let's put it into play. It's a perfect counterbalance to what you have already at the tight end in Atlanta, what you have in Drake London in Atlanta. So I like it. Green Bay's on the clock.
I love this pick, and I love this pick that I'm going to make right here even more. I'm going to tell you which two players I'm looking at,
Okay.
and it's Sam Laporta and Luke Musgrave. And I don't know which one I like more. They are both ranked as my third best tight end in this class. It's 3A, 3B. It's 3A1 and 3A2, if I'm being honest.
Well,
Like, I
and they're
don't
very
like-
similar. They're very similar players. Like,
Yeah.
they're both pass centric. Neither of them are great as blocking at the point of attack.
Nope.
So it really just depends which one you want, which one you like better.
Iowa is closer to Wisconsin than Oregon is. Sam Laporta, you are a Green Bay Packer. I wanted to walk away with Green Bay with a wide receiver and a tight end. We're going to get two guys that are really, really going to make our life easier for our young quarterback, and that has to be the priority. And I think that Green Bay's defense was performing at an elite level before everything fell apart. You just hope that it doesn't fall apart this year.
Yeah. So Sam Laporta's a pick.
Sam Laporta's the pick.
Sam Laporta.
I like me
You
some
are a
Sam
Green
Laporta.
Bay Pack. Yeah, and New England's on the board at 46, and they're not going to hesitate right here. They're going to take Jack Campbell, the linebacker from
I hate you for making this pick.
the linebacker from Iowa. He fits. He looks like a New England Patriot.
Yep.
It's a perfect fit.
Yep.
Hole in the middle of the defense. Jawan Bentley will take you so far. I think they got Raekwon McMillan still there. You put him in between of Jelani Tavai and Matthew Judon, and that defense just gets that much better. Jack Campbell, you are a New England Patriot.
Yep. Again, I hate you for making this pick because I love Jack Campbell, and now I have to start hating him. And that upsets me. But the Commanders are on the clock now, and in the first round, we had them taking and
Trading up for Christian Gonzalez.
trading up for Christian Gonzalez. They're still here in the second round. They need help on the interior of the offensive line. I'm going to be drafting Matthew Bergeron to slot in as my left guard right away.
I love it. That's
Yeah.
a great pick. He's a great player, and I think we're in the group chat that we have. We were talking about it, and I think he can play tackle. I have him graded and ranked as a tackle. I think he's a guy that can probably play left or right tackle, left or right guard without question. He's just solid.
Freak.
Where is he though? Where is he? I can't find him on my board.
Probably pick 90, knowing PFN.
Yes, Matthew Bergeron. Detroit's on the clock here, and we've taken Will Anderson.
Yep.
We've taken Quentin Johnson.
Yep.
And God, man, Jack Campbell would have been so good for this team.
So, can you imagine Jack Campbell and Malcolm Rodriguez of the middle of
Right?
that? Oh,
Right?
then I could be happy. I'm a secret Detroit Lions fan. They keep taking players that I love.
Yeah, I can't get behind that. I can't. But you know what I can get behind? I can get behind some beef, and I'm gonna add some for them.
Ooh, Mozzie?
On the defensive side of the ball, I'm going to give him Mozzie Smith, another run stuffer. to put up there with Levi Ozarike, Ali McNeil. You got another rotational guy on the front of that, and Mozzie can even bounce outside and play in a 5-tech on the defensive end. He's athletic enough to do it in certain spots. So great fit. What a great fit, and he gets to stay home. Mozzie Smith.
And meets up with his ex-teammate in Aiden Hutchinson. You
Yeah.
know, like that defense for Detroit in 3 picks just is out of this world now, right? Like, because you added Will Anderson.
Quentin
partner
Johnson on
with-
the offensive side.
Yeah, to partner with Aiden Hutchinson. I meant by 3 picks, I mean Aiden Hutchinson as the 3rd pick.
Yeah.
It's like in 3 picks, you've now revolutionized this football team, like from the top down. And here's the great part is they have another pick in the second, so they can still go get their corner that
That's
they
right.
need. Like this is a great draft for Detroit in my eyes. The Steelers are on the board. They went Tyreek Stevenson and then they went Anton Harrison.
Well, Anton Harrison and then Tyreek Stevens.
Yeah. But I'm scrolling up, and this is another team that would have loved Jack Campbell. But I don't think that this is necessarily a consolation prize. I think they're still going to go linebacker here, and they're going to go Drew Sanders, the linebacker out of Arkansas. I think it's their biggest position of need.
It's such a good fit too.
His linebacker.
He is such a good fit in the middle of that 3-4 defense where they like to blitz and bring pressure from all over the place. I mean, Drew Sanders is a perfect fit here.
Yeah, I think, like, again, Jack Campbell is linebacker 1 on my board, and so most teams I'm gonna say would have loved Jack Campbell. But like I said, I don't think Drew Sanders is a consolation prize. I think, just like you said, he can definitely come in there, quarterback that defense from the middle there, and really be effective. Whether it's being that 5th man coming up the middle, whether it's dropping into coverage, I think he's going to do a great job for them.
Yeah, I like that player a lot. I actually have mocked him a bunch to the Giants in round 1.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's probably as high as he's going to go, but. I mean, there's just no offensive, no linebacker. The linebacker class, you know, Jack Campbell's good and Drew Sanders is good, but overall, what a bust, right?
Yeah. Which is sad. I love me some linebackers, man.
Yeah.
Especially after last year's hype of linebackers. 3 Georgia linebackers all going, and freaking all of those guys. Who's the guy that we were all in love with last year that went to Jacksonville?
Went to
Midwest school.
Jacksonville.
Went to the Senior Bowl.
Last year?
Yeah.
2022?
Yeah.
At what position? Defense?
Linebacker. Yeah.
Oh, Nakobe Dean?
No, he went to
He went to Philly.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What's his name? Chad Muma.
Yeah.
Chad Muma.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot
All
about
in
Chad.
love with Chad.
I was thinking, for some reason, I was thinking Georgia. That's why I said Nakobe Dean.
No.
Here we go with Tampa Bay, another shit storm. This might be the Hendon Hooker spot. I'm not going to take him because I think that they're just so. I think that they're just so bad that they are in the running for.
They're going to get
quarterback
Drake May next year.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to plug a hole on the offensive line. There's so many of them, so I'm going to take a guy that can play so many positions. He needs to get a little bit bigger. He needs to get a little bit stronger, but his hair is going to match the jerseys. We're going to take Cody March.
Oh.
Yeah, listen, he can play right tackle. I don't think he's going to be a left tackle in
No.
the pros. It's probably going to end up bouncing inside,
Yeah.
but they have holes. You know, they got holes at the guard. They got holes at right tackle. I just think you put the best 5 guys out there right now and lose games the best you can, as softly as you can.
Yep. Makes a ton of sense. Miami's on the board at 51. And who has the fastest 40 time of the remaining wide receivers? We just have to make a track team out in Miami, right? Because you have to, if you run a sub 4.3 40, that's it. You're a Miami Dolphin now. They got Chosen Anderson, Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Cedric Wilson. Just a track team out there. That's obviously a joke. It's interesting when you look at Miami because they need the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
right? Like they need the right tackle. But there's not a tackle on the board right now that I feel comfortable with. Not one. There could be an argument for running back here. Is this the Charbonnet pick? Is this a little bit too rich for Charbonnet? There is the argument that Musgrave could go here. They need the tight end. I would have taken corner before they traded for Ramsey. They also went out and got David Long to play linebacker. They got Chubb. Brought in Elliott.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes,
or
please.
Not even a suggestion, but just a name to think about right here.
Yes, please.
You talked about track speed. You talked about the speed that Miami puts there. What would you do if Israel Abanikanda was on the field?
That has to be the pick, right?
I like what you're thinking with Charbonnet and probably
No, Israel Abanikanda's the move.
Abanikanda might be the move here, man. Or Devon Achane, you put somebody like really, really fast, even though I think Abanikanda has more 3-down capabilities than Devon Achane, but one of those guys.
I love Israel Abanikanda, and I don't want him going to the Miami Dolphins. But you make such a good point. Imagine Israel Abanikanda on that team.
Devon Achane makes sense too.
No, I'm going to give him.
He's a lot smaller.
I have Abanikanda rated higher. When my running back
so do
rankings come out,
I have him much higher. I have Charbonnet as my. I think I have Abanikanda as my RB4 as well. I have Charbonnet as my RB2, and if you said Charbonnet here, I would have been completely.
But like after watching Israel Abanikanda, what he did all of last year, it just makes too much sense. I almost went Musgrave there, but I love Israel Abanikanda. He's the guy that I'm hoping somehow, some way is the guy that shouldn't be there, but is there day 3 in the 4th round for the Jets. Like, he has no business being a 4th round pick. No business being a 4th round pick. But if he's there, you sprint to the podium. Imagine Israel Abanikanda on the Jets.
It's sick.
Ugh.
Sick. And I'm up.
Yeah. Seattle again.
Seattle's again. So let's just review what Seattle did so far. They got Jalen Carter, Zay Flowers, and Diane Henley. Oh, man. So I'm going to... yeah, this is an easy pick for me. It really is. Maybe it's not so easy.
It was easy, but now it's not.
No, you know why? I'm going to talk this out. I really like the idea of Luke Musgrave here. You know?
Oh, yes.
Next to Noah
Fant?
Next to Noah Fant and in those 2 tight end sets.
Make it happen.
But I'm not.
Oh, you should do it. That's such a good pick.
No. I'm going to go the opposite way. I want to get a guy that can come in and play in their odd fronts and play the 5-tech defensive end. There's a couple of them here on the board who I like. So I'm going to go ahead and lock one in. And I'm going to take Keon White from Georgia Tech. He's got inside-outside flexibility. He can handle. He can get at the quarterback, standing up from the outside in a wide set. He can get down and play in a 5-tech. He to me, he's a perfect fit for what they want in this defense. And they haven't addressed the edge here. There's still some good edges on the board, for Christ's sakes, but Keon White's going to be off the board now.
Yep. And the Bears are up for their pick, and they have another 2nd-round pick here. And so after looking at the board and looking at the teams that are going to be picking between 53 and 61, I wanted to not go this way at this pick and kind of save it for 61, but I don't think he makes it to 61, and they still need help on the defensive line. They took Lucas Van Ness in the 1st round, and I'm going to continue getting the big uglies on the defensive line. I'm going to take Keanu Benton here. Little bit rich for what Keanu Benton is. This is about his range probably, but he's not going to be there at 61. And while a lot of people might be high on a guy like a Siaki Ika as an interior defensive lineman, I'm not as high on Siaki as I am on Keanu. So I'm taking Benton here, and then I'm happy with that pick if I'm the Bears.
Yeah. And I'm up with the Chargers, who took Bijan Robinson to start.
Yep.
Who?
Follow that up.
Yeah, I'm going to. Very simply. If Bijan wasn't, if I was picking for the Chargers in round 1 and Bijan wasn't an option, maybe he was off the board, wanted to go a different way, I definitely would have looked at one positional grouping. And I think sitting here at the board, with Keenan Allen in his last year, I'm going to go ahead and take Josh Downs and really tighten up that slot spot. You know, maybe he doesn't see the field as much this year with Keenan Allen, but you know, that team is, they're just, listen, you're going to do everything you can to score points and load up around Justin Herbert.
Yep.
And you know, Keenan Allen, the way his contract works, you know, he's probably in his last year. You know, who else do they have there? They have Mike Williams, who's a completely different type of receiver.
Palmer. Palmer?
They got Joshua Palmer.
Josh Palmer.
Yeah, but outside of that, I mean,
No, I love the pick.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, this is your Keenan Allen replacement, you know? He sees the field in 4 wide sets right now, and he's your Keenan Allen replacement. Josh Downs, you are a Los Angeles Charger.
And I'm keeping it simple with the Lions. It's the guy that I would have taken at 48 if I was picking at 48. Luke Musgrave, you are a Detroit Lion.
Wow, you know what's funny is that this is the pick they got for trading Hockenson.
Yeah. I think the Hockenson trade had nothing to do with the fact that Hockenson as the player and everything to do with the fact that they knew that they weren't going to pay him and that his value right then and there was at the highest it'll ever be. They weren't going to pay a tight end, especially the money that Hockenson deserves. And getting a second-round pick for Hockenson was a steal, was an absolute steal. And Musgrave has the ability to probably be every bit as good as Hockenson.
Yeah.
And so.
And I'm up on the board for Jacksonville.
Yep.
Oh, man. You know what I'm going to do here? What could Jacksonville want? Jacksonville could use a tackle still.
A center. Desperately need a center.
Yeah, but there's no center here worth taking in the second round. The value's not there.
Don't disagree.
Even the tackles, you're going to be stretching it. I mean, there's guys that I like, you know, but this might be really, really high ceilings for them. Ooh. Yeah, I've changed my mind. So what I was going to do is I was really considering Keely Ringo.
Ooh.
For I've already taken a cornerback. I took Joey Porter. But I think Keely Ringo transitions to be a safety in the league. I think he's a free safety in the NFL. And
I agree.
You can line him up out there next to Andre Sisco, and you're gonna have a really, really formidable group. And at worst, you know, he can play outside or inside for now, with Joey Porter. But I'm gonna go a different way. Jacksonville loves, you know, Jacksonville's about their offense. Jacksonville likes to throw the ball. They have Travis Etienne in the backfield, right? They got rid of James Robinson last year.
Yep.
Travis Etienne's a very good running back. I'm going to go ahead and get Travis Etienne a running mate.
Oh, you're going to break the Giants' heart? You can take Zach?
I'm going to take Zach Charbonnet. I am.
Oh, you just broke the Giants' heart.
He's a big body. He can get out there in the pass. He doesn't have to leave the field. I mean, it's just a perfect, you know, running mate for Travis Etienne right there. Oh. I think the value's so good for him right there.
Just broke their heart. Oh man, broke their heart. They were gonna take Zach Charbonnet in the case that Saquon maybe doesn't show up, and
He'll show up, but
yeah, but like
they're gonna need a running back at some point.
yeah, they're gonna have to pivot a little bit here. And in the first round, we had them taking a safety, and by we I mean me. I had them taking the safety Brian Branch to play somewhere on their defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they have to go wide receiver. And I felt like going with a bigger wide receiver. And I'm going to go Michael Wilson out of Stanford. I love me some Tank Dell, but at like, what is he, 5'2", 85 pounds, something like that. You know what I mean? It's hard to see. That's kind of what they already have is like small, fast wide receivers.
Michael Wilson's so good, dude.
Yeah.
You know, 6'2", 215, he runs fast. He's so quick in and out of his routes. You know, the big question mark with him is can he stay healthy because he hasn't been able to do it all that much in college. But
Nope. He's played, what, 14 games?
Yeah, when he's on the field, man, he's good. He is good. So I'm on the board here with Dallas. Who did I take last time? Oh, I took Nolan Smith.
Yeah, you took Micah Parsons again.
I took Micah Parsons part 2. Ooh, man. So let's see. Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? They did acquire Brandon Cooks. They did acquire Stephon Gilmore. You know what I'm going to do? To me, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to take Tucker Kraft, the tight end from South Dakota State. This is the range where he's going to go. He's really underrated because he's a smaller school guy, but he's an excellent receiver. He's a dog as a run blocker. He can help. He doesn't have to leave the field. You know, I know they got Jake Ferguson there, and they like Jake Ferguson, but yeah, I'm going to take Tucker Kraft and not even think twice about it.
This is a great pick. I always go back and forth between him and Schoonmaker out of Michigan.
Yeah,
I like both of those guys a lot.
I can see that as well.
I like both of those guys a lot. Yeah. But that's a great pick. The Buffalo Bills are here at 59, and they lost Tremaine Edmonds. They re-signed Matt Milano to big money, but I think that you've got to go and address that middle of the field. I think Trenton Simpson, right here, makes a ton of sense for them. I'm not in love with any of the wide receivers for them right now. Like, I know that they need one. And again, with the 3-ish running backs in Gibbs, Bijan, and now Zach all gone, even Israel gone, you look at it and you go, the gap between Ashane now or like, I don't know, Dwayne McBride or Tank Bigsby or Rashawn Johnson is not that big. Get the running back later, and now you just get the linebacker.
I love it. It makes sense. I actually forgot. I've forgotten about Trenton Simpson, man.
Yeah, man. He's sneakily falling down boards because people just forget he exists.
Yeah, sure. All right, I'm on the board, Cincinnati.
Yep.
So, I'm going to say this. I'm very concerned about Joe Mixon.
Yes.
I'm very concerned about Joe Mixon. I think Zach Charbonnet would have been a phenomenal pick for Cincinnati here. There's no other running back on the board that I think the value is worthy here. Devin Ashane, I think, is a third down back at best. Kendre Miller, I think, can carry the load, but this might be a little too rich. Sean Tucker coming off an injury, I think probably still a little too rich. So I'm going to address the defense, and I'm going to take the best player on the board who fits their scheme very well. I'm going to take Felix Anudike-Uzomah.
Ooh.
And give them another edge rusher. He shouldn't be on the board this high. You know, Sam Hubbard's getting old. You know, they got Trey Hendrickson. I don't know how long his contract remains on that. And outside of those guys, you know, who's there at the edge? Is it Joe Asai? Cam Sample, those are nice role players, but I think Felix Andubuike and Zama can come in and be a productive 3-down player. Even if not in year 1, in years 2 and 3 for sure.
Yeah. The Bears are on the board, and they got two big uglies on the defensive side of the ball in Lucas Van Ness and Keanu Benton in this draft, and they're going to stay on the defensive side of the ball.
Wow.
Yes, they've addressed the offensive side of the ball, trading for DJ Moore, trading for Claypool. Their offensive line is okay. They're getting running backs. They're doing all of the right things. But this defense is in shambles. And Julius Brents of Kansas State is the newest corner for the Chicago Bears. That's, I think, has to be the motto of this draft. Is the Bears' struggles last year weren't offensively. They were. They didn't have anyone for them to throw the ball to. Right? Now they've got 3 guys that you can legitimately look at as wide receivers in Moore, Claypool, and Mooney. Like, those are 3 legit. That's a real wide receiver room now. You've got your running back in Justin Fields. Like, you have to have somewhere. Like, the offensive line did a relatively good job, if healthy, and they signed some people and all that stuff. But that defense couldn't stop a beach ball. They were getting scored by 40. If you can bring that from 40 to 30, I think your offense can keep up with the way that it is now. And going 3 big defensive guys and Benton and Van Ness and Brents makes a ton of sense.
Man, I'm on the board with Philly.
Why does Philly have this many picks? They shouldn't.
Well, they have
10.
They got 10 from the Saints pick. 10 was the Saints, which they got in a draft day trade 2 years ago. So really, this should be their second pick at 62. Man, let's see.
This is difficult, right? Like, this is the part that I love, which is just like, who goes here and why?
So I'm going to talk this out with you, okay? Because I'm thinking there's 3 spots that I like. I know the Philly's very high on Avonte Maddox, but like we said, their cornerbacks are getting a little older.
Yep.
So I think you can take a cornerback here. They did sign Greedy Williams in free agency, so they secured at least one of them. So between Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, and Greedy Williams, they also signed. I didn't know they signed Josiah Scott as a backup nickelback. I think that they're okay. They drafted Josh Jobe last year from Alabama. They're not as bad at cornerback as I thought. They still have to replace Gardner Johnson at free safety. It's probably the area I'm going to go, but I'm looking here. Is this where they replace Miles Sanders? It'd be the same exact spot that they took Miles Sanders in last time.
Yes.
Right? End of the second round.
Yes.
I could see it. I don't know if it's Asheen. I think they got Asheen already on their team in Kenneth Gainwell.
So McBride?
I'm thinking Zach Evans or Kendre Miller. More of those, inside capable track speed kind of guys.
Let me ask you this, though.
That free safety spot is still available, and is that Antonio Johnson?
I was about to say, is there not a higher likelihood that one of those Zach Evans, if those are the running backs that you're looking for, aren't they going to be there in the third? One of Zach Evans or Kendre Miller is going to be there in the third. Not both of them are going to be gone, but Antonio Johnson is not going to be there.
But I don't think the scheme fit. I think Antonio Johnson's more nickel corner than he is free safety.
I don't disagree, and I don't think Antonio Johnson would be the pick. I would have personally gone Jamie. I think Jamie can play free safety. I know that a lot of people have kind of put him in this nickel box. I really think he can play free safety and like really, really well. So like for me, the pick here would probably end up being a toss-up between Jamie, Kelly, and Jordan Battle to be the free safety there. And of those three, I love Jamie way more than any of the other three. That's the way that I'm looking at, because I think that outside of Bijan and Jameer, you just get the guy in the third. That's the way that I look at it with the running back, especially with Zach gone.
You know, a guy like Marvin Mims or Tyler Scott or Tank Dell in the slot as your Quez Watkins replacement next year wouldn't be bad either. I keep going back to that running back room, though. Who did we take so far for them? We took Adebaware and Paris Johnson.
Yep. They went with two big uglies.
Yeah. What to do? I'm going to go safety. And I'm going to go with Fluid Mover, who I think can, is great in run support and more so can handle that deep middle responsibilities in their zones. And I'm going to take Chris Smith out of Georgia.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm going to take Christopher Smith.
Ah, interesting. I love it. Now,
Kansas City.
With the last pick in our 2.0 mock draft, I'm going to be very, 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 very honest with you. I don't know in which direction I want to go here. I had them taking Kalijah Kancey in the first round, fixing that interior of the offensive line. And right here, I'm looking at a guy like Cedric Tillman and thinking vertical X threat, partnering up with that cannon of an arm that Patrick Mahomes has makes a ton of sense.
I love it. It's a pick I would make.
But you have to protect Patrick Mahomes. Their offense, dude, he was running for his life last year. And Blake Freeland is here. And Wanya Morris is here. And Tyler
they got
Steen
you on.
is here.
They signed you on Taylor, right?
Yes.
So he's going to be their left tackle.
Yes. Do you
obviously
really
they got
trust in
they're
Lucas
good
Niang?
they're good at guards.
Yep. They're great
They
at
got
center.
Creed Humphrey. Well, you got Lucas Niang. You got who else? Darian Kennard is there, I believe. I don't have the thing in front of me. You're going to need a Kelsey replacement at some point. But if you look at their wide receiver, I don't know, Cedric Tillman is completely different than all the wide receivers that they have.
That's
Kadarius Toney,
man.
Sky Moore, Marquise Valdez-Scantling. You put Cedric Tillman in there. He's your true X.
I know. And he provides that speed that gets deep, gets open deep, and you can just toss it up to him. Again, I love that pick, but it's this necessity in my mind of just protect the baby goat, man. I can't get that out of my head. But also, who is the baby goat going to throw the ball to? It can't keep being just, and then I keep looking at this tackle room and I go, yeah, Blake Freeland, Wanya Morris, but Jalen Duncan will be there probably in the third. Nick Saldivieri will be there in the third. Oh, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Wanya Morris. I think that makes a ton of sense.
He's the right tackle.
Cedric Tillman. I'm going to take Cedric Tillman here.
Yeah.
You got to get that deep X. Get him his wide receiver. He needs it. And
wow. It's that's the greatest. I think that's a great pick. I really like them if he falls. Think about Quentin Johnston on that team.
Yeah. Well, guys, here are all the picks. I'm going to scroll through them slowly. Let us know what you think about our picks and the guys that we took, do you think that this is realistic at all? Do you think that we got it right? Do you think that we got it wrong? Let us know why in the comments section below. I know I'll be down there reading everything. I'll be messaging Dom with anything that anybody might say that we find interesting. Dom, let the people know what you're up to on the Green Bean Jets fan channel in the coming weeks and months. Draft is nigh upon us.
It is upon us. We are, we have one more 10 o'clock mock going next week. It's the finale. Green Bean has something special planned. He won't even cue me into it.
Ooh.
So look forward to that. And this Sunday is going to be, the show I do with Jeremy on Jets Chaos Channel, Sunday nights at 9 p.m. It's going to be really, really fun. We're going to go over the prospects. We're going to talk about our favorites and our sleeper picks for each positional group, or where the Jets, for the Jets per se. And then we're going to finish it up with something we did last year, which was so fun. We call it the Wheel of Chaos, where we're going to do a full first-round mock.
Oh, I love it. I remember it.
Spinning the wheel, and whatever position comes up is the position we're going to take. So we had a good time doing it last year, and we're going to tie it in this year again. So those are the two live shows I got coming up. I'll also be a guest on Buffalo Jets Fans Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Sure, we're going to be talking draft. Outside of that, I have a new episode of the Project Prospect podcast coming out, talking about the interior offensive lineman. And I have one more quick little video that I'm doing, and I haven't really finalized which player I'm going to dive into, but it's probably going to be a late round guy, somebody that's not being talked about a lot. I've touched on a lot of the early guys, and those little videos are guys that I think are sneaky good fits with Jets. So to be determined, but that will be out before Thursday's draft for sure.
If I can make a recommendation, I have no idea how much tape you've watched on him, but he's a guy that I'm slowly but surely starting to develop a late 6th round, 5th round flyer of a pick on, kind of how I had with Malcolm Rodriguez last year, but not to the same level. Muhammad Diabate out of Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Late round pick. Met with the Jets.
He met with the Jets. They seem to have taken a liking to him. So I'll look into it. I've watched him. I've watched him a little bit. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I dove very, very deep, but I'll put him in the equation. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, pop him in the algorithm. See what pops out. I love me some late round draft talk. But thank you so much again, Dom, for coming on and doing this. It's late night for us when we're recording this, so it's great hanging out and doing this. Guys, make sure to go watch and hit the like button on everything that Dom C does, whatever channel it's on, so that we can convince him to start his own channel, so that we don't have to go to a million different places to watch him. Dom, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out for the almost 2 hours of this 2-round mock draft and listen to us talk about these prospects. Make sure to hit the like button on your way out. And last but not least,